What's going on, YouTube, fam? It's your boy Tony 2 times, and we back with another episode of Hood Tales, man. Before I start, be sure to tap that like button. Definitely watch this video to the end to hear the full story and all the details in the case. For my day one fam, y'all already know it's all love. Thanks for tuning back into another episode. If you're new to the channel and you feeling the content, feel free to subscribe. Definitely hit that notification bell so you can be notified every time we drop a new video. Oh yeah, feel free to share the channel with your peoples. Everybody is welcome. With that being said, let's get right into the story. When you are young and dating, it can be a beautiful thing. Trying to find someone you have things in common with, getting to know a person, and hopefully as y'all move on, it evolves into something real. Of course, nowadays, the dating world can get crazy. You have people out here acting like they are really on a dating show in real life, like it's Pop the Balloon, critiquing each other's clothes, shoes before they even sit down and talk to a person. While some are looking for a partner to build a business with, travel with, and share highlights with on social media, they might look good together, but really behind closed doors, they can't stand each other. Others are looking for that real, old-fashioned kind of love. Finding a person to navigate this life with, start a foundation from the ground up, and really fall in love. But navigating through the weirdos, finesses, and phonies, that's a job within itself for both men and women. But speaking from a man's perspective, it definitely can get super tricky. Most of us are used to a woman who is dating, maybe looking for a come up, somebody to take care of her, but now you have women carrying it like men. They are lurking, looking for licks, a man to set up and rob. We never look at a pretty face and see evil. With most men, we are blinded by the possibilities, by either being with a beautiful woman physically or making her our girl. But with this backdoor culture, it's getting real out here. Some women are dating and not even really single. They plot on men they think have more than their boyfriends, act like they really like them, only to set up the play. And unfortunately, we never really know when a woman is a setup queen until it's too late. And on this episode of Hood Tales, we'll be taking it to Naptown, Indianapolis, Indiana, to discuss the case of a man who was tricked into a date just for the woman to set up the back door for her boyfriend. Earlier this year, 25-year-old Jarrell Pryor was navigating life in Indianapolis. Described as a cool young guy, down to earth, he liked to laugh and have fun. Very much into fashion, looking nice, but also hard working and dedicated to his main focus, his 2-year-old daughter. Jarrell was a single father, but with the help of his family, who he was very close to, he was able to get up every day, go to work, and provide her the best life he could. He loved nothing more than taking his daughter out and being a dad. But also young and in his prime, Jarrell had no shortage on attracting females and dating. Always fresh, having his own car and a good job, for most women, they felt the young man was a good catch. Looking for something solid, Jarrell would find himself feeling a 19-year-old woman he met on Instagram. Her name was Alexis Hawkins. As the two chopped it up and scrolled through each other's profiles, Jarrell figured him and Alexis could possibly start kicking it if she wanted to take things offline and meet in person. She asked when could they link up. But always working and having his daughter, Jarrell told her he would let her know soon and hit her back as soon as he was free. But little did he know, Alexis had a whole boyfriend, 18-year-old Brian Winston Jr. Brian and Alexis had been together for a minute, but in January of this year, the couple had a falling out. When one day while kicking it, he felt she was on her phone and texting too much. So he told her he was about to roll out and leave. She told him, if you leave, I will just find another man. In which Brian said, all right, bet. But the two kept communicating with each other and remained together, especially when Alexis told him what she brought to the table. She was a setup girl. She would post pictures like a thirst trap, hoping men would bite or wear certain clothes to get their attention. Reel them men and alley-hoop them, setting them up to be robbed by whatever dude she was with at the time. She told Brian she had already hit one part of the city too hard, and the men in that area knew her MO, but Jarrell didn't. On January 24th of this year, it was a normal day for the young man. He went to work, and left his daughter at his grandmother's house. When he got off later that night, having some free time, he told his family he would be home soon and decided to text Alexis, asking her, "When you free?" She hit back and they set up a date for that night. Jarrell went to pick her up, and as they rode around, they hit a local McDonald's, then a liquor store. Now the next morning, on January 25th, Jarrell, while thinking he was on a real date with a pretty girl, didn't peep she was texting the whole time. Then as they arrived on 49th Street and Primrose Avenue on the city's north side, while sitting in the car, a man ran up, demanded Jarrell kick out everything before multiple shots went off. Local police were called to the scene to find Jarrell suffering from multiple gunshot wounds, and unfortunately, he would be pronounced gone at the scene. With no witnesses and thinking he was alone, police didn't have no leads on what happened and no suspects, only his phone. Around 5 a.m. that morning, his family got a call no family wanted to get, asking did they know Jarrell, and saying the young man had been shot and he didn't make it, and somebody needed to come down to identify the body. Family members had to explain to his daughter where her father was at, as she asked, "When is daddy coming home?" While they were left to grieve, police started an investigation. They started off and where Jarrell went after work, tracking his debit card transactions to McDonald's and a liquor store, before then getting messages from his phone. They looked into his text messages and Instagram. They noticed his conversation with Alexis, and one of his last texts, "When are you free?" Police then got a search warrant to get Alexis' phone records and also access to her Instagram. They quickly realized she was in the car with Jarrell. Their phones was traveling together that night, and she also was texting somebody else their every move and location. Almost a month would go by, and when police felt they had enough evidence, they went and picked up Alexis for questioning. She revealed she was with Jarrell that night, but claimed she didn't know who robbed and shot the young man. When they told her they had messages with her contacting people asking for a ride from the scene without first calling police, she claimed that's because she was in shock. Then police told her they knew she was texting a man, plotting in her words to make a play. Alexis told them they had no weapon or fingerprints on her and got defensive, stating she didn't do anything. When asked what does making a play mean, she shut down and asked for a lawyer. She was taken into custody, charged with first-degree hit, accessory to robbery, and other charges. As it was determined, she set up the whole situation. A few weeks later, after finding messages between Alexis and Brian, including one with her texting him at 5 a.m. the same morning of the shooting, saying she left the scene, and also sending and searching articles that day of shootings in the area, with one of Brian's last text messages to her saying don't say too much and delete everything. They went to pick the young man up for questioning. At first, he refused to open the door. Then he finally came out. He was taken down to the station. He stated Alexis was his on-again and off-again girlfriend, claiming they were in an open relationship, and he had her and other girls who set up men for him. But he claimed he didn't participate in the robbery and slaying of Jarrell. But with the evidence, he was also taken into custody, charged with robbery and first-degree murder as well. As Jarrell's mother and father got the news an arrest had been made, they spoke to the news, stating they were devastated. They let it be known he lost his life for going on a date, and that the people who did it got nothing from the situation, but took everything from them and his daughter, as they celebrated her 3rd birthday without her father. They also stated no matter how much time Alexis and Brian got, it wouldn't bring Jarrell back. As of now, both Alexis and Brian are being held without bail, and they both are innocent until proven otherwise. Rest in peace to Jarrell. I send my prayers and condolences to his family, especially his daughter, who according to his family, he was raising by himself. So if she didn't have her mother in the picture, now she lost her father as well to something so petty. Females like Alexis make it hard for men to trust, knowing it's a possibility when you meet a woman, she could be sizing you up just to backdoor you to the next man. As far as dudes like Brian, who use women to set up men, you already are putting yourself in a trick bag. Because if she will backdoor somebody for you, she will backdoor you for somebody. It's in her character. But I'm going to end this one with a few questions. Have you ever been or felt like you were being set up by somebody you was dating? And if you are out here trying to find love as a man or woman, how do you navigate through everything that's going on nowadays? Let me know in the comments. And remember, we gotta succeed, not to fail, so we won't be just another hood tale. Yeah, man, messed up story. Rest in peace, that young man. I definitely send my prayers to his family. But I ain't gonna talk too much more about this one. I appreciate you if you made it to the end. It's another episode of Hood Tales. It's your boy Tony 2 times. Love, fam. I'm out. What's going on, YouTube, fam? It's your boy Tony 2 times, and we back with another episode of Hood Tales, man. Before I start, be sure to tap that like button. Definitely watch this video to the end to hear the full story and all the details in the case. For the day one, fam, y'all already know it's all love. Thanks for tuning back into another episode. If you're new to the channel and you're feeling the content, feel free to subscribe. Definitely hit the notification bell so you can be notified every time we drop a new video. Oh yeah, feel free to share the channel with your peoples. Everybody is welcome. Let's get right into the story. In life, when we meet people, whether out and about or at work, we usually take them at face value. As time goes on, whether a romantic relationship or a friendship evolves from the encounter, we try more to get to know an individual, now that they are a permanent part of our life. It seems like no big deal, since every couple or pair of friends were once strangers that had to learn more about each other. But the thing is about people, we all introduce ourselves as shells or representatives of who we really are. It takes a long time to be able to say you really know a person. And even then, you really only know what they put out and want you to know. But despite all that, it's nice when you connect with a person and you feel like you are not alone and have somebody in your corner. It's a known fact. Some people know how to love and let go, meaning they will ride to the end, but when it's over, they know how to just walk away. But others love hard. In their mind, this is forever, and there's no letting go. That can become a problem. If you feel like you are done with the situation, then you really see who you were dealing with. But some people, they get spiteful, try hard to mess your life up if they can't be a part of it. Others become obsessed and evil, stalking, calling, texting, even making threats. But now you have opened yourself up to a person you thought you knew, and you are at the mercy on how far they are willing to go. And sometimes the outcome could be fatal. And on this episode of Hood Tales, we'll be taking it to Chicago, Illinois, to discuss the case of an obsessed man who snapped when his girlfriend removed the ad tag from her car. Back in 2023, 21-year-old Jaylene Flores was navigating life in Chicago. The young woman was just starting out and getting on her feet. Described as kind, hard-working, and fun-loving, Jaylene liked to have fun and meet new people and treated everybody with respect. Let's rewind back a few years. While in school, she met a young man named Armani Henry. Armani was described as a good kid who was quiet and reserved. But when he met Jaylene, he came out of his shell. They vibed, and at the same age, with a lot of the same interests, their bond grew tight. And some say their friendship turned into a relationship. As they entered the world outside of school, they would even end up working together in a nursing home in the Chicago suburb of Oak Lawn. While there, the two grew even closer. But it seemed Armani was a little more into the relationship than Jaylene. Now both 21 years old, she understood they were young and just having fun. But in the young man's eyes, this was it. He texted her all the time, called her, and even would stop by the house, sneak up on her at work to the point she became uncomfortable and told Armani they should fall back and focus on each other separately. But the once cool and calm young man started talking crazy, telling her, if you cut me off, I will hurt your family. Little did Jaylene know, Armani had a history of becoming obsessed with his girlfriends and even putting hands on them, as he had just recently caught a charge before they got together for not leaving his ex alone. Scared, she decided she would go get a protective order on the young man and even quit her job and went to work for Amazon. Every time somebody went to serve the order though to Armani, which was approved by a judge, the occupants of the home stated he didn't live there. She filed for the order in April of 2023, and by June of that same year, it was null and void due to Armani never officially being served. He wouldn't stop though, pulling up to Jaylene's new job, still making threats, telling her he would do something to her brother, who she loved a lot and wanted to protect. She would eventually also leave that job as well and go to work at a grocery store in the Chicago suburb of Evergreen Park. She figured out now Armani would fall back, but she was wrong. He still knew where she lived at, and on July 10th, that morning, as Jaylene got ready to leave home, her brother discovered an Apple AirTag tracking device in her car. As he looked at it harder, he realized the 4 digits on it was the last 4 digits of Armani's phone number. They got rid of the device, and she went to work. When not long after pulling up, Armani pulled up right behind her. Angry, he asked her why did she remove the AirTag. She calmly told the young man it was over and he should move on, causing him to make more threats, looking her in her eyes, saying, "I'm gonna take your brother's life." She decided when she left work, she would try again to go get another protection order on Armani. A few days later, on July 13th, she woke up and got ready for work. Realizing she had missed calls and over 123 text messages from the young man, making threats. Tired of being scared, she got ready to go to work. When she arrived, she walked in and then she heard somebody calling her name. She turned around and it was Armani. She tried to walk off and her manager watched. She entered the employees only room, but Armani walked in right behind her. Then multiple shots rang out. He ran out the store, gun in hand. Police were called to the location. When they arrived, they found Jaylene suffering from multiple gunshot wounds, and unfortunately, she would pass away at the scene. Armani's car was caught on surveillance leaving the store. Also him approaching Jaylene and running from the location. The manager was able to point him out in a photo lineup. Also his ex-girlfriend. A bolo was put out for Armani's car, and just an hour later at 10 a.m., Tag Reader Technology picked up his location. He wasn't too far from the store. He was arrested with the gun on him and charged with first-degree murder. As Jaylene's family received the news, they were devastated and stated Jaylene did everything to get away from the young man before finally telling him they can be best friends so he wouldn't snap and feel like he was losing her. At his first court date, his grandfather spoke out, claiming Armani was a good kid. He didn't understand what went wrong. He claimed he would call Jaylene his best friend and stated he even saw the two together just 2 weeks prior to the incident. He claimed they tried their best to help the young man who dealt with mental illness and were confused on how he even got a gun in the first place. He was held with no bail, and as of now, Armani's next court date is scheduled for this month. Rest in peace to Jaylene. I send my prayers and condolences to her family. Dealing with somebody who won't let go can be hard, and once they know everything about you, like where you live and work, you are really at the mercy on how far they are willing to go, like I said earlier, unless you get up and decide to leave everything. But I'm going to leave this one open. I want to know y'all thoughts about the situation. And have you yourself ever ended a relationship and the person didn't want to let go and became obsessed? If so, how did you deal with it and how did it play out? Let me know in the comments. And remember, we got to succeed, not to fail, so we won't be just another hood tale. Yeah, man, crazy story. Rest in peace, that young lady. I definitely send my prayers to her family. But I ain't gonna talk too much more about this one. Like I said, y'all leave it in the comments. I appreciate you if you made it to the end. Y'all already know it's all love, fam. This is another episode of Hood Tales. It's your boy Tony 2 times.
December 2022, when off-duty Fulton County Deputy James Thomas Jr. repeatedly approached him in the deputy's personal car on Bolton Road in Northwest Atlanta.
I was afraid.
Were you afraid for your life?
I was afraid for my life.
It's your girl, Mrs. Tony 2 times, and I'm back with another episode of Hood Tales. In this video, let's take it to Atlanta, Georgia, to discuss how a strange encounter and alleged unwanted advances between an off-duty deputy and a civilian turned fatal. But before we get into this video, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Turn on your notifications so you don't miss any future uploads. Also, this video is sponsored by me, Mrs. Tony 2 Times, and my YouTube channel. Make sure you check it out. Look out for the link to it in the comments. Stay tuned until the end to hear the full story. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. In December 2022, a fatal encounter on a quiet Atlanta road would not only end the life of a young sheriff's deputy, but also spark one of the most controversial trials in Fulton County's recent history. This is the story of Deputy James Thomas and the man who would stand accused of taking his life, 26-year-old Alton Oliver. It all began in the early morning hours of December 29th, 2022, on Bolton Road in Northwest Atlanta. James Thomas had finished his shift the night before. The 24-year-old deputy was off duty driving his personal car on his day off. Where he was headed and why he was on Bolton Road that morning has never been fully explained. Meanwhile, just a short distance away, another young man was making his way home. Alton Oliver had just gotten off work. A co-worker gave him a ride and dropped him off near Bolton Road so he could walk the rest of the way home. Two men, strangers from completely different worlds, were about to cross paths in a way that would end in tragedy. At around 4:30 a.m. on December 29, 2022, Atlanta police received reports of a car accident and possible shots fired near the intersection of Bolton Road and Peyton Road. When officers arrived, they found 24-year-old James Thomas, a newly hired Fulton County Sheriff's deputy, slumped in the driver's seat of his crashed car. He had been shot and was pronounced gone at the scene. Investigators quickly determined that this was not just a tragic accident, it was a homicide. James Thomas was described as the kind of person people gravitated toward. Originally from Mississippi, he was funny, bubbly, and always quick with a joke. His friends said he lit up every room he entered. Law enforcement was his dream. After working with the Milledgeville Police Department, he joined the Fulton County Sheriff's Office in August 2022. The Fulton County Sheriff personally recruited him, describing James as the life of the party and a young man full of energy who loved his work. At just 24 years old, his career was just beginning. Atlanta police launched an immediate investigation. 4 days later, detectives tracked down their suspect. Using dashcam footage from nearby truck drivers and surveillance cameras in the city's Connect Atlanta system, they identified Alton Oliver. He was arrested during a traffic stop at his workplace and charged in connection to James Thomas' slaying. According to initial reports, police believe the two men got into some sort of altercation or argument that escalated, resulting in James losing his life. To the public, it seemed straightforward. A promising young deputy's life was taken by a stranger. But the courtroom would tell a far more complicated story. When the trial began in August 2025, both sides agreed on one thing. James Thomas approached Alton more than once that morning in December 2022. But what happened during those encounters and why was hotly debated. According to testimony given during the trial, on that fateful December morning, Alton Oliver was just walking along Bolton Road. That's when he noticed a car pull up beside him. Inside was Deputy James Thomas, though Alton didn't know who he was at the time. According to Alton, James allegedly rolled down the window and tried to get his attention and offered him a ride along with explicit, unwanted, intimate propositions. Alton said no and kept walking. But then the car came back a second time. This time, Alton claimed James's approach was even bolder. Again, he brushed it off and continued walking. When the car returned a third time, Alton later claimed that it came toward him faster, headlights off, closing the distance. At that moment, Alton said he panicked. He believed he was being targeted, cornered, and that his life was in danger. He pulled out his weapon he carried on his waistband and fired 2 shots into the car that was 40 feet away. The shots rang out just as another vehicle, a van, was passing by. The driver later told police he saw James's car swerving erratically right before he heard the shots. Moments later, the deputy's car collided with another vehicle and came to a stop. Prosecutors told the jury this was a simple case of malice intent. They argued that Alton overreacted, firing his weapon when there was no real threat. The defense, however, painted a starkly different picture. They argued Alton was preyed upon by a man, an off-duty deputy, who initiated 3 separate unwanted encounters with someone who was simply walking home.
He was surveilling my clients. He was harassing my clients. He was soliciting my clients. The only person at the time those shots were fired who was violating the law was Mr. Thomas.
When Alton took the stand in a rare and risky move, his voice shook as he recounted the fear he felt when James allegedly circled back again and again. He testified that James told him to get in, let me give you a ride, and offered to perform an intimate act. He declined each time. He later testified saying, as he got closer, I got spooked. I pulled my firearm from my waistband and I fired it in his direction.
He comes back with the headlights off. He blurs out saying, get in, let me get a ride. Get close. I get spooked. I pull my firearm from my waistband and I point it in direction.
The prosecution attempted to poke holes in his story because when Alton initially spoke with police, he never mentioned the unwanted advances. His reasonings was because he was still in shock and that he didn't want to say too much without a lawyer present. They also questioned why he left the scene, and he stated he just wanted to go home and he was not aware that he had actually harmed anyone or taken a life.
Didn't you tell the detectives that you knew it was wrong to leave the scene?
I knew it was wrong to leave the scene, but I didn't leave the scene as far as trying to run or hide or anything. I just went home. I was focused on getting home. I didn't know the person had died. I said that to you already. I didn't know the person had died. I did not know if I had hit the person, nor harmed the person.
The jury deliberated for 9 hours. Then, on August 15th, 2025, the verdict was read. In a tense moment, the judge accidentally announced Alton Oliver was guilty of all charges.
We, the jury, find the defendant guilty as to all 6 counts of the bill of indictment. Sheriff, will you please hand this to State's counsel?
Before quickly correcting himself.
And pass it over to... Didn't I say not? No. Sorry. We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty on all 6 counts. Nope.
Sit down.
I apologize for my mispronunciation.
Alton was acquitted of all charges. He broke down in relief, hugging his attorneys. For Alton, the verdict meant freedom, but for James's family, it meant devastation. They had lost their son, their brother, their loved one, and now no one would face punishment for his slaying. James's friends remember him as a young man with big dreams, someone who loved to laugh, who wanted nothing more than to serve his community. His loss is still deeply felt. May James continue to rest in peace. My belated condolences to his family and friends. This case is heartbreaking no matter how you look at it. On one side, you have a deputy who never made it home, a man with a family who believed in his potential and his goodness. On the other, you have a civilian who says he was cornered, frightened, and forced to make a split-second decision. The jury ultimately sided with Alton, or at least believed the evidence wasn't strong enough to convict him. But the questions left behind are heavy. What really happened during those encounters? Was Alton's fear justified? Two lives intersected for only a few moments that morning, but the impact will last forever. Fam, what are your thoughts on this story? What do you think? Did the jury get this one right, or was justice left undone? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Alright fam, that's it for this episode of Hood Tales. Thank you so much for watching. If this story moved you, consider liking and sharing. Subscribe for more stories like this and for the stories behind the headlines, because behind them all are lives forever changed. This is your girl, Mrs. Tony 2 Times. Until next time.
What's going on, YouTube, fam? It's your boy Tony 2 Times, and we back with another episode of Hood Tales, man. Before I start, be sure to tap that like button. Definitely watch this video to the end to hear the full story and all the details in the case. For the day one, fam, y'all already know it's all love. Thanks for tuning back into another episode. If you're new to the channel and you feeling the content, feel free to subscribe. Definitely hit that notification bell so you can be notified every time we drop a new video. Oh yeah, feel free to share the channel with your peoples. Everybody is welcome. Before I get into the story, I want to give a special shout out to Miss Antoinette Boyd for always supporting the channel and showing love. We definitely appreciate the support. With that being said, let's get right into the video. With all the new technology that has evolved over the years, we are definitely living in a digital age. With the touch of a finger, you can download an app to get food and groceries delivered to your house, even catch a ride to where you need to go. To take it a step further, with social media, you can go on Marketplace, buy cars, look at houses, find somebody to cut your grass. It's all so convenient. For some people, they take advantage of these new ways to hustle. How at one point, if you had a business, you had to go outside door to door to get customers, or by word of mouth. Now you just create a post, promote it, and wait for the alerts to go off on your phone. It's definitely a good way to brand yourself, earn income, or think of a side hustle. If you do hair, go on Facebook or IG, you can post a video, a price, location, and you are in the game that fast. But of course, side hustles are not only limited to legal activities. Now, you don't even have to hit the streets to find a few grams of grass or something to smoke on. You can fly into a city, scroll up and down your timeline, and you will definitely see somebody selling Zy or gas, whatever the hoppers like to call it nowadays. Most of us that's out that older mob, we might look at it like that's crazy. That sounds like a bad high or setup just waiting to happen. But now it's the new normal, and people actually meet up and grab product from people they never met. But it's a quote and a sign on all these apps that we should all pay close attention to. Buyers and sellers beware, because you just don't know who is behind that screen and what exactly are their true intentions. And deciding to pull up could put you in a dangerous situation, or even worse, cost you your life. And on this episode of Hood Tales, we'll be taking it to Chicago, Illinois, to discuss the case of a Facebook deal that took a turn for the worse. Back in 2020, 20-year-old Sasha Moore was maintaining and navigating life in Chicago. Sasha would keep a job to support herself. She had a decent car to get around the city in, and she was also in a solid relationship with a young man named Carl. But like everybody trying to survive, Sasha had a side hustle to make extra cash. Her and her boyfriend would sell grass on the side. Even though the recreational use of the flower was legalized in Illinois on January 1st, 2020, everybody didn't have their card yet. Some people still depended on the streets or social media to get their product. Sasha would sometimes make posts saying she got the gas and meet up with whoever responded. And on January 15th, it was no different. Posted on Facebook as she usually did, with her boyfriend Carl right by her side. It was a little bit after midnight when she got a hit from a profile with the name Chris Paul. The person behind it told the young lady they wanted a cop from her and she should meet up with them. She said bet, and the individual stated, meet me at the Falcon gas station located at 8255 South Halstead Avenue in the Auburn-Gresham area of the city. She stated okay, she was on her way. Her and her boyfriend jumped in the whip and headed to the location. Sasha was still communicating with the cell on Facebook, and he told her he was at the store. They looked up and saw a man with a bubble coat on and short dreads in his head. He was talking to another man before he slowly approached the car. Once he walked up, Sasha, who was driving, was all about business. It was COD, or cash on delivery, asking where the bread was at. The man stated, slow down, let me smell it first. Feeling like it was a move, she asked, you copping or not? Seconds later, multiple shots went off, hitting the young lady in the head and back. Badly conscious, she was able to speed off and drive a few blocks. CPD got a shot spotter alert and responded to the gas station to then get a call. A car was shot up and had stopped blocks away on South Peoria Street. When police pulled up, car was outside, unharmed but hysterical. The young man was crying as Sasha was laid on the ground, suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. They overheard her boyfriend on the phone with his mother. He stated, it's all my fault. I told her let's go meet up with dude. When police asked who he was talking about, he stated, I never saw that man in my life. It was a dude with a bubble coat on and short dreads, and he just started shooting. Sasha was rushed to a local hospital, where unfortunately she would pass away from her injuries. At first, with the information given, police thought it was an ambush. Maybe somebody mistaked the couple for their ops. But surveillance video from the store showed the man walk up to the driver's side and talk before shooting Sasha. The man then ran and she drove off. Carl was called back in for questioning. This time, he admitted and told them about the Facebook sale. Police went to the messages between Sasha and the man, and they got a hit. The suspect at the time was an 18-year-old man named Terrell Vining. As Sasha's family and friends received the news, they held a vigil for the young lady and marched through the streets of Chicago to the exact same area where the incident happened at. Her friend spoke on the young lady's behalf. She stated how good of a person the young lady was and also claimed she didn't deserve that at all. Others spoke on the violence in the community and how it affected the quality of life in the city. Not long after, Terrell was picked up and taken into custody. Even though he invoked his right to remain silent, with Facebook messages, surveillance footage from the store, and Carl's statement, he was charged with first-degree murder and other charges and held without bail. Even though his attorney argued, the young man lived with his mother, had a good temp job, and was attending school trying to get his life together. As the case was pending trial, something tragic would happen. Carl, the state's key witness and Sasha's boyfriend, would attend a party and also, unfortunately, lose his life in Chicago in the triple shooting just months after the young lady. A few years later, Terrell would have his day in court. He would be found guilty on lesser charges, including aggravated discharge of a firearm, and was sentenced to 12 years in prison. He is eligible for parole in the year 2030. Rest in peace to Sasha and Carl. I send my prayers and condolences to both of their families. It seemed to me Sasha thought Terrell was going to take them off or try to pull a move, and Terrell thought the same. And he probably was trying to take something, but I don't understand taking a life over a few grams of grass. That's crazy. Meeting people on social media, dealing with a stranger and money is already a tragedy waiting to happen. but some people feel like it's worth the risk. I'm gonna end this one with some questions. Do you or have you ever met up to buy something offline or use services? If so, how do you navigate and use your discernment and who you choose to deal with? And have you ever had a bad encounter or felt like somebody was trying to pull a move on you? Let me know in the comments. And remember, we got to succeed, not to fail, so we won't be just another hood tale. Yeah, man, crazy story. Rest in peace to Sasha. Rest in peace to her boyfriend, Carl. I send my prayers and condolences to their families. But I ain't going to talk too much more about this one. Y'all leave it in the comments. I appreciate you if you made it to the end. This is another episode of Hood Tales. It's your boy Tony 2 times. Y'all already know it's all love, fam. I'm out.